Welcome to Surviving the Dream with your hosts, Kacey Arnold
and David Conolly.
We're here to talk to people who seem to have their dream job and find out, what did it take? Is it what they imagined? Is it worth it? How do they do it?
Join us as we uncover the secrets of surviving the dream. Hello, Kacey.
Hello,
Welcome.
Dave.
Welcome to Surviving the Dream. It's a special episode today because our guest is a producer, a writer, and a stand-up, and the co-host of Surviving the Dream. It's Kacey Arnold.
Hi, everybody. People have been asking to learn more about us, so this is not a self-indulgence. It's because it's for the people.
Yeah, I don't know who those people are, but we're doing it for those people. Apparently, they've asked Kacey. No one's asked me. No one's interested in me. All right, Kacey. So come on, what is the dream for you right now?
The dream right now is to have my own show and be a showrunner. But I feel like when I started, it was just, I feel like it's morphed. I wanted to be a writer, performer, and the more I write, the more I've kind of let go of being a comedian, even though I don't know that's the way to go. And like my inner performer is screaming from the inside to find a little balance of both. But right now it's to be a writer, showrunner, and I guess the more I'm working, the more I sort of like perform for the page. Do you do that too at all?
Perform for the page?
Because like you're creating the world and you are these characters. So you kind of like play it out in your head.
Yes.
But because of having done stand-up, like it helps with dialogue and I know how it'll land. So I'm just kind of like, living in my own little.
I definitely have to read it out aloud to make sure that it sounds, because I'm sometimes thinking, some people might not speak like that, because something that looks good on the page, I do trust actors, believe it or not. Do you trust actors?
Sometimes I usually let people like give it a shot, and then sometimes I'll be like, hang on, it's not written for the way you speak, let me tweak it, right? Because everybody has like a different rhythm.
Yeah,
I have my sort of like East Coast Jew rhythm, which I have learned the hard way is not everyone's rhythm. Neuroses is not a thing that everyone has.
So let's go back. So how did it all start for you?
I started doing stand-up and I loved it and I thought I would keep doing it. But I also had like shitty jobs on the side. I was an assistant to like writers and producers and directors. And then when I became an assistant to showrunners, that's when I first learned that was like a job. And I thought, ooh, this is what I want to do. This is amazing. And I was still doing stand-up. And the first writer strike killed their deal. And so I went and toured on the road doing stand-up. And I was like, oh my God, it's so awesome to be paid for stand-up. This is the dream. Maybe this is what I want to do. But the more I did it, the more I was like, I don't really want to live out of a suitcase. I don't really want to be in the middle of nowhere. Like, it was very lonely. And I came home and I was like, I think if I want my writing career to go somewhere or my stand-up career, like I have to pick one, because like two competing dreams, I wasn't really giving enough attention to either. So I picked writing because it felt like a stable option, silly young me.
Oh, for you. I mean, and how old were you when you wanted to be a stand-up?
My mom's boyfriend when I was growing up was an aspiring comedian. So it felt like a tangible thing. But like I started stand-up and I think I was 19 or 20. I took a class, and then at the end of the class you perform. And somehow my first set went well enough that I was like, holy shit, this is addictive. Oh my God, I can make people laugh. This is the dream. The dream was like to be myself and make people laugh. But I'm not sure, there's like 7 people in the world who can earn a proper living doing that.
There's as many as 7 now. Wow, that must have gone up in 2024. But what about the 15-year-old Kacey? What did she want?
To get the fuck out of high school. 15-year-old Kacey was more into like photography and painting. And actually I was always into writing. I had like a class in high school that was like math, writing and science sort of all combined. And at the end you had to write a paper to show that you understood everything. And I would struggle in some of the classes because I just wasn't that engaged. And in that at the end, I would write an amazing paper that like 100% of the time my teachers are like, did you just write this last night? I'm like, I didn't want to answer. And they're like, you got the highest grade in the class. Did you write it last night? I'm like, I did write it last night. So it's almost like writing chose me before I even realized writing was the thing. I just have always processed life that way. I've always been like a journaler. My handwriting is for shit, but I'm good at words and sentiment.
Is that because you're writing so fast to keep up with the incredible thoughts you're having?
Yes, Dave, it is. Also, that way, when you write in your journal and your handwriting is so sloppy, no one is tempted to read it because they just can't figure it out.
That's a top tip for listeners who are
Yep.
journaling who have mothers. All right. So you, how have you survived? Because, like,
How have I
I
survived?
mean, you're not 20 now, are you? I mean, you're slightly
I
older.
mean, I'm not far. Okay, I am.
What's been the
Uh,
trick?
I fell into writing for kids' TV, and that was another thing that I hadn't really consciously planned on or decided on. The showrunners I'd been working for had a show that was animated, and I wrote a couple episodes, and something got nominated, and then suddenly people were like, "Oh, you're a kids writer. I can hire you now." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I've been dying to get hired for words." So that kept me afloat for a good 12 years, made me a better writer because you have to tell very simple, clear stories, made me more visual. The people in kids' TV are generally nicer than the cutthroat world of comedy, which is nice.
Is that right? Because I remember, like, years ago working at Toy Fair in London as an
Yeah.
actor, and I found it the most cutthroat, nastiest place
So
I'd
you
ever
were with
been
like the
to.
marketing people, probably,
Oh,
right? Which is
well,
different. You do,
right.
I mean, I did get a lot of notes from marketing people, like, and I did realize to a certain extent I was just writing commercials, and that made me kind of pick toys that I believed in. I did a lot of work for Lego and Barbie because I grew up playing with Lego and Barbie. I believe in them. I'm totally fine helping sell them. There are certain other toy things that I was pitched that I was like, what does your toy do? Mm, I think I'm fully booked right now, but good luck with that. Like,
How
because I just didn't want to be associated with it.
how did the Lego job come about?
That was actually, this business is so who you know.
Mhm.
Every single job I've ever gotten, I can trace back to an internship I got in college that was at an agency where my cousin's friend is the daughter of someone who owns an agency. And so when I was looking for an internship, I called them and they were like, "Oh, sorry, we don't have any positions left." And not in a shitty way, but just as a genuine question, I was like, "Oh man, does it help if I'm friends with so and so?" And they're like, "Yes, it does. Congratulations, you have an
Wow.
internship." Then I wound up working there for like 2 years. And but it's like, it's weird, then I worked for a manager who I had met there, and it all stemmed from there. Sorry, now I forgot your original question.
I want to go to the Lego job because I
Oh, the
mean that's
Lego job.
for
So
some people
I
that would
had,
be a dream
when
job.
after the writer's strike ended, I came back from doing stand up. I decided I wanted to be a writer, but I also decided I had been an assistant to people for over 10 years. And I was like, I learned enough. I can't make any more fucking coffee. I can't do anyone else's calendar. I'm done. And a producer that I had worked with was like, okay, come be my assistant for 3 months at Henson. He's like, you don't have to pretend you like it. You don't, you can be yourself. It's temporary. I know you don't want to do it. I'm going to get you to write for free to show them that you are a good writer, and then they'll hire you. So just one more time. And I was like, I don't have to have a good attitude about it. Okay, fine. And you'll make your own coffee? Deal. So I did that. And then Henson hired me to write a couple of things after doing that. That's how I got the job with my former bosses that then got nominated. And then I was off to the races. You just need one person to like
Hmm.
believe in you and give you a chance.
And you got and what was the nomination for?
It was an Annie nomination for a show called Robot and Monster, but I lost to Matt Stone and Trey Parker, which is pretty cool,
Wow, that's
right?
good. That's good.
That's
Yeah,
some good company,
yeah. That's like playing basketball and going, well, Michael Jordan was playing on the other side when we got to
right?
the final, you know, so that's
I
pretty
always
good.
thought it was bullshit when people said it's a pleasure just to be nominated, but I'm like, no, I feel pretty amazing to have been put in that company even just once,
Yeah, and you didn't have to go through making a speech. Thank God for that, right?
right? But I got to wear a pretty dress, and that was fun.
Well, yeah, we all like that. So, it's my favorite night of the week. So right now, do you keep yourself going? At, like we've had a writer's strike again. I mean, you mentioned
Yeah.
one that we've had another one since then. We've had a pandemic. How do you keep yourself going now?
Now I've decided I'm working on my own stuff because I do still love writing and I'm an artist and I need to do stuff that like fills me up creatively and not just for the paycheck. My bank account might disagree with me,
Your
but
crown, your
my
crown.
crowd,
Queen Kacey is with us today, ladies and gentlemen.
hey, we all have our system to motivate. If I want to wear a crown when I'm at home writing, it's my prerogative.
I see. So when I ask you how you keep yourself going, I just think of myself as a royal person.
No, like I optioned a book that I wrote a pilot for that I'm going to make. I think I've just have shifted my goal. It makes me feel like I have some sort of control to at least write on stuff that's creatively fulfilling, even if it is just a sample in the end. It's something that I'm proud of, that I'm enjoying writing. And the fact that I know that I still love writing enough to do it like on my own time for free is
Mhm.
exciting to me because I know I still love it. I would still love to get paid again. It's been a minute. The writer strike, like a little bit killed, not killed. It's sidelined my career and I would like to reboot it. So it's like a weird transitional time right now. But, like we started doing this, I wrote the
Mhm.
pilot. Everything I'm working on feels way more in alignment with like who I am and what I want to do. And is something that if it became a full time thing, I would be happy. Like Lego was an amazing job. It was my first time being like head writer of a show. And I
Mhm.
didn't realize how much of my life it would consume. And now that I know that, I feel choosier with my projects because I'm like, what would I want my life to be? Like,
Mhm.
if my life was doing this all the time, that would be super awesome. If my life was the show that the pilot is, that would be super awesome.
It's funny because you bring up something. I was at the TV Academy last night, as I said to you earlier on, and it's before we were recording. A phrase I heard from a lot of people. I kept hearing the same phrase. It was, I said, "So how are you? What are you doing?" They go, I'm going through a reevaluation period. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I feel like if a positive, it might be a positive that we're taking from a negative, i.e. the strike, is that there's a lot of people are going through a reevaluation, going,
Yeah.
what do I want to do with my time?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I did that. But the thing is, I actually still love writing, which
right.
I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I think you have to love it. I mean, unless you're getting paid so much money and you go, oh, okay, I'm just doing it for the paycheck. But
But
it's
you can
very,
only do those jobs for so long because like they eat at you.
yeah.
I've definitely had jobs that were more for the money, but that's like not who I am.
And how flexible are you? Like, say, I mean, what when it comes to genre? Like, I often think that writers are more flexible than maybe the people who market them are, such as their reps.
For sure.
Although I have a very good agent, I love him. But
I'm
how?
looking for one if anybody is willing to take me on.
but how flexible are you? I mean, do you tie yourself down to a genre that I'm this kind of writer?
I mean, I think I'm probably a comedy writer. I could maybe do a drama with some comedic moments, but like I love good character driven stuff. That said, animation has you do a lot of stuff that I wouldn't normally have thought was fun. Like we did action episodes, we did kind of sci fi episodes, we did, a Western spoof.
Tell
So
me
that
about.
kind of stuff is fun, but it's all comedy driven. So I would say I'm a comedy writer, which I think includes a wide variety of things. I don't think it has to be one style of
It
comedy.
seems the animation world kind of fascinates me. So, because I must admit, I had no interest in it at all until I was hired to write a movie for animation, and I
Did I know
found
you wrote an animated movie? What animated movie did you write?
it was Frog and Toad. It didn't get made, but I got paid for it, so that was important. But I actually found it really liberating
Yeah.
doing that.
Oh my God. Getting to write like the land of make believe and have like inanimate objects talk or people
Yeah,
fly or like have the heightened reality part is super fun.
yeah, I loved it, and I was really surprised because I initially said I don't do animations, and I thought I've got very little interest in animation since I'm now an adult. But actually, I needed to.
Don't judge it.
Oh no, I know. I think that's been the part. I was wrong. Because I actually would put that down as one of my favorite jobs that I actually did.
That's
At
good. Right. It is fun. And also, it lets you tap into a part of you that I feel like we don't get to be very often. Like, as much as I am done writing for preschool, but it did give me a way to like heal some childhood things and have like renewed, fun, playful childhood. I would still write stuff, I would say, for probably like 6 or 7 and up, because it does let you tell a bunch of different kinds of stories that we don't normally get to do. Also, real life kind of sucks right now. It's fun to bury your head in like the
Yeah,
animated, playful sand where like it'll be okay
yeah.
at the end.
Yeah, well, I loved it because I had to disappear into that world of the animation and actually read the books and go, oh, I'm reading children's books that I would never normally pick up, and now I have to. And
Yeah.
I thought it was
We
wonderful.
used to play with Legos at Lego, and it was like, have you played with a Lego in the last like 20 years? It's still fun.
Yeah, yeah, I haven't played for Lego in a long time.
All right. Well, next
Maybe
time we get together.
next time we'll get a bottle of tequila and play Lego. Okay, that is the 15 minutes. So I've
That
got to
went by
come.
so quickly.
Oh, it went so fast, so fast. So we've got some questions for you.
Okay.
Some of these questions you might know. Some of these questions you might normally ask, but I get to ask them all.
All right. All right. Enjoy.
All right. So, what is your favorite snack?
I kind of knew you were going to lead with that one. Uh, I was thinking about it today. I knew the pressure was on because I always ask everyone that. I think my favorite snack, it's really boring, popcorn. I can never say no to popcorn. And you know who
Wow.
makes the world's best popcorn? We had
Go
him
on.
on recently. Tom Caltabiano makes
Really?
somehow the world's best popcorn. And when we write together, that's
Yeah.
like his job is to make the popcorn. And then we both just like eat our body weight in
Yeah.
popcorn. And then the magic happens on the paper.
I would never buy popcorn. I've only had other people's popcorn. It's
Make
not
it
some.
fresh. You got to make it
Yeah.
fresh.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Good for you. Okay. If we really, really knew you, what would we know?
If you really, really knew me, you would know I spend too much time alone.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Does that make you sad?
I feel like, oh dear, it's little tears now. I'm sorry about that. Listeners, if you can write in any ideas so that Kacey doesn't spend so much time on her own. Okay, all right. One of my favorite questions, obviously, is
Yes.
I want to know if you won the lottery, the big one. Don't worry about tax because I know some people do.
Hmm.
What are you going to do?
Okay. Part of the money is going to go to starting some sort of foundation to reduce the stigma of mental health. As
Okay.
people know who've listened to the podcast before, my dad had schizophrenia, and like just the amount of stigma against people with mental health issues is terrible. And I feel like that's part of why there's such a problem. So I'd love to help people with that and help reduce that, and maybe some homelessness also. But then I would also buy a house,
Oh,
and because I still live in a condo and I don't like sharing walls with people who I have not invited into my home. And after hearing so many of our guests talk about how they would use some of their money to like fund their creativity, I think I would also start my own production company and do that and work with friends and like keep the dream going and also help my friends' dreams going.
that's lovely. All
And some
right.
travel.
And some travel. And then, what's your favorite animal and why?
Think it has to be a cat because they're delightful little weirdos. And even though I'm technically allergic to my cats,
I
they,
never knew that. Oh no. Oh, that's a disaster. You're on your own with you're lonely with your cats and you're allergic to them.
don't paint such a great picture of me.
This is the saddest interview we've done.
But
Oh,
they're entertaining and they amuse me. They've inspired 2 show ideas. They're great. They're delightful little weirdos, and I admire their sense of independence.
yeah.
And you know what? If I could ever love my belly as much as my cat, who lays on her back and exposes her flabby belly all the
Oh,
time,
that is
that's
a
like a
treat.
life goal.
I didn't realize that till I had cats. That they once they show you their belly, they're saying, "Oh, look at that! Can you see that? Yeah, look
You're
at
like,
that.
you
Yeah,
thought you couldn't love me more, but did you
yeah.
see all that?
You're very lucky because you get to look at my belly." Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Kacey Arnold, living the dream,
I
surviving the
feel like
dream.
you ended on like Kacey Arnold, Lonely Spinster. I don't want that to be the
Casey,
takeaway.
Kacey Arnold, lonely, living with the cats that she can't go near. Oh,
Oh, I go near. I just
uh,
sleep a lot.
on a diet of popcorn. Oh, we've learned so much. Well,
Amazing. Olive
wow,
oil popcorn. You're missing
wow.
out. I'm going to make some for you. I'm going to have Tom make some for you.
All right, thank you, Kacey. That
You
was
know
amazing.
what is up
Well,
next after this is something super exciting.
really? Who
Yes.
have you got?
Okay, so we do have another guest today. He is a writer, producer, actor, comedian who had a previous career that he'll share more with us.
God, he's done a lot of jobs, hasn't he? Or
He's
she?
done a lot of jobs.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I left out other co-host of Surviving the Dream, David Conolly.
That's me, innit? Yeah, I have had a lot of jobs. Yeah,
He's
sorry
had a
about
lot of
that. Yeah,
jobs.
yeah.
So if
Especially,
I ask you, what is the dream? What is
what
it?
is
How did it come
what?
to be? After, did it take that many tries to figure it
I've
out?
just tried. Yeah, 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 yeah. I was a psychiatric nurse as well. But that was because I grew up in a mental hospital. I should explain that. Is that when I was a kid, my father worked in a mental hospital, so I kind of grew up on the outskirts of the hospital, and everybody in my village, either their parents either worked in the hospital or they worked in the farms. Seen apparently, but my dream was, I think I probably wanted to be a cricketer. That didn't happen. Basically, because I wasn't good enough,
Yep.
or a footballer. Definitely wasn't good enough. But then I discovered acting quite young, and I
How
thought,
old were you? How old is quite young?
I think I was probably about 7 when I was in
Okay.
drama, and I just realised that was the one class at school where I was good. I was really like everyone. Oh, you're good at this, Dave. Like there's everything else. I felt like, oh, I'm not very good at that. Oh dear, no math. Oh no, no. I was never number one in the class. That was the one class where I went, oh, this is what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
And then school assemblies and stuff like that. I used to get nervous, but I would always go, oh, is Dave going to do some acting? And I would always be okay in that. And I think that sort of, even though I was quite shy as a kid, believe it or not, I
You
was
weren't the
actually,
class clown?
I was a bit like the class clown. I was a quiet clown. I think I was class
Were
clown
you a mime?
when it came. Yeah, did mime. Yeah, yeah. No, but I think it was when I think I came out of myself literally in drama classes. And like,
Mm-hmm.
if there was a school assembly, they're going, oh, Dave's good at this. He likes acting. But any other class like math or biology or whatever, I'd just be sitting there really quietly, thinking,
Just waiting for time to pass, hoping
yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't notice
yeah.
you.
And then I realised that I would be looking out the window, thinking, how would I play that? How would I act in that? And
Oh,
I would always, and then when I was 16 years old, I tried out for the National Youth Theatre in Britain, in London. I remember it was the first time. So I was brought up in a place called Cambridge, which is a university. Well, I was actually brought up in the middle of nowhere, outside Cambridge, where this mental hospital was. And I got on a train for the first time by myself and went to London by myself and went and auditioned for the National Youth Theatre.
great.
And then got a recall, and then I got in, and then I had to go and I went and lived in London for a few weeks.
And so when you were with your peers who were good at it too, did you feel like, oh, these are my people, this is the
That's it.
thing?
That was it. That was once I was. I mean, also it gave me so much confidence, thinking, "Oh God, you can do this for a living." You get. We were going to the theatre. We'd have famous actors coming to talk to us, and you're thinking, "Oh my God, they're real. They're real people." And that they would give me the time of day. And as a 16-year-old, I just thought, that's it. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And if you gave me a contract right there and said you're going to get equity minimum for the rest of your life and you'll just always be doing plays, I think I would have signed it right there and then in blood. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got through six. We have sixth form in England where you do your A levels. My A levels were theatre, English. I was quite a good writer. I was always good at writing. Which again, I sort of snuck up on me a bit like you. And
Mm-hmm.
then I went to college. I did this. I used to joke about the fact that I went to college and did a degree in drama, and then I went to theatre school to go and do a drama school to do acting. So I'm doubly qualified in acting. So that was that. And then the way the writing really, I think I was always having to write my own material.
Mm-hmm.
And then the awful thing about being an actor, I think it's the best job in the world. But the worst thing about it is being an out of work actor. I hated being an out of work actor.
But
And that's
isn't that part of it? Like, do they teach you, hey, look, this isn't the kind of job where you clock into an office and you're 9 to 5 and you have stability for the rest of your life?
yeah, but how do you prepare for that? Because
You can't really teach. You have to, because
yeah,
everyone has to find their own way, right, to deal with the in between times.
yeah, and I think there was a danger at that time that, like, when I went to drama school, where it's like, this is it, I am now becoming a professional actor. I realised I was surrounded by a lot of people who didn't need to work. Perhaps that
Mm.
I'll never forget one time coming back from the term, and the teacher, my Russian teacher, said, "You've not been thinking about acting enough in the break." And I thought, no, because I was nursing. I was actually being a psychiatric nurse during the break and working double shifts to make enough money to survive. Whereas somebody else could say, "Yeah, I did think about. I went to hang out on the beach in Australia, and I thought, and I read all the books on Stanislavski and Chekhov, and yeah, I really did think about it." And he was going, "Good, good," and I'm thinking, well, I couldn't. I had to actually go and make a
Also,
living.
life experience and studying humanity, especially getting to like peer inside people's head, like
Yeah.
there is no better
It wasn't just
learning
their
to
heads I
me.
was seeing into. I tell you, okay, I did some terrible things as a nurse. Well, not, I mean, they were good for them, but my God, I saw life. I mean, I really did see, like, I mean, as a young man, I felt like that's what I got me through my early years, is that whenever I was not acting, which was quite frequent, I would go back into nursing. That was my fallback, and I was a nursing assistant in psychiatric hospitals because
What kind of degree do you have to have for that?
you don't know that I was a nursing assistant. So and then I also did drama therapy for my degree as well. So I was actually.
Wait, what is drama therapy?
Drama therapy is where you go. I mean, at that point, I did my dissertation on that. So I was working with drama therapists who basically it's a form of therapy that was in the psychiatric institution. So you'd be doing role playing with people who had psychiatric
Oh, it's like
issues and problems.
psychodrama when you act
Psychodrama, I
out.
did psychodrama as well. Psychodrama is a little bit different because
Yeah,
psychodrama, but I like psychodrama. I actually preferred psychodrama,
yeah.
but that you're playing through situations like how to go shopping or stuff like that, and you act it out, and or we play roles. So I quite enjoyed all that, and I actually thought, well, if I don't become an actor, I'll probably become a drama therapist because I understand that those two worlds of the psychiatric community. Oh God, thank you, Dad. And drama acting.
But that makes sense to me though. I mean, like because you're dealing with like emotions and
Yeah,
insecurities and stuff with both of them, so they pair well. Do you feel like that helps you in life now deal with
yeah.
your dream? And because now you also have I don't want to call it a fallback job, but you also have like a side job where
Yeah,
you
and
can.
and I've got a great. I mean, I've always had to have a side hustle, and the side hustle is usually, but it's usually connected with what I do. So,
Yeah.
like at the moment, I'm working at a theatre school, and I'm sharing knowledge of, I'm teaching acting, I'm teaching stand up, I'm teaching writing. So I teach those things, and I've taught that in prisons. I've taught that in South Central and Compton. I've always been drawn to that world where I go, well, look, I can give back and I can get paid for it. And I always get paid for it because I think I'm not that good. Yeah, I don't think I'm that nice a person. I need to get, but I do think you should be as well. You should be compensated for what you do, and
Yeah.
then you have to keep turning up.
And so
So
how did it, but it sounds like writing became more of your job than acting at a
it's
certain
funny.
point.
It was a few years ago, not quite recently. I remember thinking, God, when I'm doing my tax returns, I'm really a writer. That's where I make most of my income is as
Yeah,
a
how did that
writer.
switch happen and how do you feel about it?
The switch happened because I was desperately out of work as an actor in the 90s, and it killed me. It absolutely killed me. So a group of acting friends got together and we went, we just got to write our own sketches. We'll put on a sketch show, and we just had to write. And we were disciplined enough to stay up all night with a few beers and write sketches and say we're putting them on in this theatre next week, which we did. Every Monday night we put on a show because the theatres are all down on a Monday night in London.
You had your own
So
little Monday Night Live.
so we had our Monday night show, Monday Night Live, and we had to write, and we had to write and write and write and write, and then that sketch show got turned into a TV pilot, which didn't get picked up. But that's probably because people from that show did incredibly well. Like they all got picked up, but well, not everybody, but some people got picked up and ended up doing things years later. Like you go, oh God, they did incredible. They're like the head of Channel 4 comedy or something like that,
Oh,
or
yeah.
BBC comedy, and then two of us who were writing together were asked by the person who shot the pilot, going, this is a long time ago, could you write a movie? And I had no idea if we could or not, but we sat down, and we were both understudies at the time in the West End. So we used to meet every matinee day and an hour before each show, and just have lunch, have dinner, and just write this screenplay, which then, because, and this is how the business works, isn't it? Because I was in a play with very famous people, they go, "What are you doing in the breaks?" I'll go, "Oh, I'm writing a screenplay. Let me read it." "Oh, this is great." And then suddenly, like it got to like a top agent, and then it sold. It's like, I mean, it sounds easy, but it wasn't. It was like,
Right
oh,
place at the right time. Who
yeah, and
knew?
yeah, and
Hmm.
I was thinking, oh, that's how it works. Oh, great, yeah, all right,
You
yeah.
also thought writing was more stable.
Yeah, I did. And then, I mean, I must admit, as a writer, I've met pretty much most things I've written I've been paid for. So I've been lucky on that.
Yeah.
Um, and
But you also only write when you're paid
yes and no. I
these
mean,
days.
yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit of a taxi driver of like the meters running when I'm. I mean, I just like it's. I think, yeah, I have to think that if I'm not getting paid, it's highly likely to be made. I
Hmm.
don't punt as much. I will pitch ideas, but if I'm writing, I'm going to write with purpose. That
Sure.
I'm not writing a massive fantasy that is never going to happen.
Sure, sure.
I'm writing something that I'm thinking, I think this is going to be made because I'm already planning it with the people who are likely to make it or get it in the right place. And I usually get paid for development. I've been very lucky on that.
You are lucky at
And
that.
I kind
So
of feel
is
like you
the
should be.
dream
Yeah.
now writing, or is it still acting, or
I think the dream. I mean, for me, Cooper's Bar was like a perfect job
because you got to do both?
because I got to do both, because I got to write and act in it. I've also directed before. I think for a while I thought directing was where I wanted to be. When
Yeah.
I came to America, I came to direct.
When I met you, I thought
Yeah,
of you as a director
yeah, and I thought
and
of
a
myself.
comedian, which is an
Yeah,
odd pairing.
I thought of myself as a director. The comedian thing is something that I think is inherently within me, and I think I have a love-hate relationship with it. That I hate the idea of doing it, but oh my god, I love it when I'm up there.
Because
Uh,
it's the most least glamorous
yes,
thing you can do, and yet it fills you up in a way that nothing else possibly can,
it's the
right?
biggest challenge, right? I think
Yeah.
it's like being if it's if it was a sport, it would be boxing,
Also,
right?
right away,
Yeah,
working, not working. There is no
yeah, yeah,
mystery. There's no waiting for notes. There's no people weighing in and hemming
yeah.
and hawing. Like, in the room, in the moment, I was funny or I was not funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's been moments in my life where I've come off stage and gone, "That, my friend, works. You stop fighting it."
Yep.
But like but when you're a road comic, which I was for a few years, you're driving hundreds of miles a day.
And it's
Your
lonely.
base was, yeah, it's lonely. I mean, it's true. I used to think, why am I doing this? This is
And the food
lonely.
is shit.
Food is shit, and
But
then
you do get to see parts of the country that I think you wouldn't normally
yeah.
see.
I mean, that's amazing. See, I mean, I feel like I saw, yeah, parts of America that I never knew existed. Incredible.
And
And
it is kind of fun to talk to strangers.
yeah, although I've had so many incidents that my that I had a policy of doing the show and going straight back to my room. I don't because I don't want to get into any
Right. That's
situations.
the you being a married man versus me being a straight.
well,
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to find it. I mean, it might not happen now, but it used to be because like some girl would look at you, and then and it would be the boyfriend or husband coming over wanting to punch your lights out, and you go, "Hold on, what have I done?" And they're going, "Oh yeah, my girlfriend looked at you." And I'm going, "Well, I didn't. I was on stage. Of course, she was looking at me. There's a spotlight. There's nowhere else to look. I mean, like, oh God,
That's an insecure boyfriend.
Yeah, yeah, and
Don't
that
take your woman to a comedy show if you don't want her to laugh at someone.
yeah, well, that's it. I remember once being set on in the desert where these people with necks that were not white came at me in a restroom, and I was surrounded by them, and they're going, "Making our girls laugh all night." And I went, "I was going, it's my job. I get paid to do
That's
that."
so funny. I've never had people be mad at me for being funny. We should go
It's
on the road together and
yeah,
compare
yeah,
experiences because I have opened. I was not a headliner. I was an opener when I did it. Did my good half hour, but I never knew the people. It's like I would just get there and open for them,
Yeah.
and it was interesting.
Well, I mean, I was an opener for years, and then I headlined, and then it's a different ball game when you headline. Suddenly, the money suddenly it's not fair. It's not fair, is it? The money triples or quadruples, and you go, oh,
It's suddenly worth your time.
now it's worth my time. And
And
then
when
you
you
see.
sell your merch, it's worth your time as an opener.
Yeah, oh, I used to hate that. And I must admit, as a headliner, the one thing that went was the merch. I go, oh, and I know that I always was working with headliners, and you always had to say, hey, you're selling merch. Can I sell merch? Yeah, as long as and they were always pretty good about it as you set up your little flea market. But when I was headlining, I didn't sell merch because I went, I don't need to, do I? I don't
Yeah, I
need
mean
to.
that part's a little awkward, but it's okay. So
Yeah.
what is right now, Dave? What is your dream?
My dream right now would be to write another show. And I've actually flipped in the last few years because I used to be writing movies all the
Hmm.
time, and I'm lucky I've made a few movies. Right now, I think it's TV's where we're at. I would like to write another show that was on the air, like Cooper's Bar. I'd hope Cooper's Bar gets another season. It's had two so far, and I'd also like to creatively. I'd like to be. I would like to be either in front of or behind the camera. So either acting or directing episodes. I deliberately didn't direct on Cooper's Bar because I worked on a movie years ago where I was acting in it and I directed it, and I said to myself, never do that again.
It's a lot of hats to wear at once.
It's too much, and I know a lot of people think that if you'd have asked me, I thought that was I thought that was the dream to write,
Hmm.
direct, and act at the same time. And then I realized, no, it's actually like you're the other side of the mirror. And I realized that when I'm acting, I don't want to look at the monitor. And when I'm directing, I'm looking at the monitor, and I think you're direct. And I mean, people, what's a director? My
Yeah,
idea as a director is you're trying to not only tell a story, but you're trying to help the actors get through it. And you're trying to go, look, I can help you create that character. I can, and I'm basically, I'm the other side going, oh, that's not reading, or that is reading. And when it's yourself, I don't know what it's like. It's very difficult because then you're just going, God, is that what I look like, or is that what, and you're looking at it in the wrong way. Um,
it is
so I,
hard to separate yourself.
yeah, or it's like listening. If anybody listens to themselves, that they might stop talking, which I do sometimes when I hear it. When I finally listen to a podcast, that I go, "Oh my God, Dave, stop it."
I
Um,
mean, I made a documentary about my life, and let me tell you, the editing process was brutal at the beginning. And I was like, oh my
yeah,
God, I'm watching like my deepest, darkest at the time trauma day
yeah,
after day for hours at a time for months. But then at a
yeah.
certain point, it was like, okay, the Casey character, like it was no longer me, which was kind of liberating. But
Yeah,
when you're directing a movie, you don't have, maybe by the time it's fully finished, you're
I
there.
think
But certainly when you're shooting, I think it would take a lot to get there.
I think in post you can do that. You can differentiate and you can talk about the character in third person, but it's very difficult on the set. And then Hannah and myself, my wife, we directed together, and that's when I remember the time when I realised how important directing was in the scene that we were both in together, and the whole thing collapsed. And it was a tiny scene. We'd only written one scene that we were in because we knew that whenever Hannah was in a scene, I could direct her. When the Verizon scene, she could
Yeah.
direct me. And then there was one scene we were in together, and the whole thing collapsed. No one knew. It was almost like just no one know what they're doing. No one could do their jobs. And you go, oh God, a director is kind of important, even if it's just to say, do your job. you know.
Yeah, somebody to be overseeing everything.
Yeah. So I mean, for years my dream was to direct more. I love directing. I thought it was helping other people out as well, and crafting and shaping something. I did enjoy that, but you know, there's still like the 7-year-old Dave in there going, "Oh, but you want to be an actor."
I just want to play.
Yeah, I remember Norman Lloyd, who's no longer with us, but he was the oldest actor in SAG, and we shared a birthday, albeit like 60 years apart. Um, and I remember one time talking to him, saying, "I'm a director now," and he said, "Dave, you're an actor." He said, "If you start out as an actor, you're always an actor," and I think there is some truth in that. And I've even spoken to another famous director friend of mine, and And I once offered him a role in a movie, and he said, "Oh, yeah, I'm on a movie at the moment, but I'll talk to the studio and see if I can like go on hiatus." And I went,
Yeah.
"Don't stop the studio movie to come and play this little role in New York." But he was going to. It doesn't go. I just think that doesn't go
It
away.
doesn't go away. I still miss performing. I would like to
Yeah,
do some voices and animated stuff, but the
yeah.
whole emoting
Oh,
live on camera, I'm less good.
voiceover is great. That is so liberating because
Yeah.
no one, you're just going, "Oh, I'm behind a microphone. I can do what I want, gesticulate," and no one's going,
Get to
"Oh,
be more
yeah,
kid-like.
yeah, yeah."
Um, I want to keep asking you questions, but it's time to get to questions.
Wow, we
But it sounds like
just.
the dream is going well. You're in a good spot. You've gotten to do a lot of those things.
I think, look, if you take my career and you concertina it, I have lived the dream. But if you spread it out over the 30 odd years, you go, yeah, there's been some very lean spells.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, that's just the reality. That's like,
yeah,
oh, what did you get paid for that job? Amazing.
yeah,
And you're like, all right, but
yeah,
never break it down hour by hour because maybe
yeah.
not amazing.
Yeah, well, look, I still used to get excited when I get paid for stand-up comedy. I go,
Yeah.
when someone will be bunging $100 note in you, going, oh my god, I just got paid for that.
It's true.
Brilliant.
What I will say when I was on the road, I would think to myself all the time, I can't believe I get to just be funny today. Like
Yeah,
all I have to do today is like do the things that make me feel good on stage and then
yeah,
go be funny.
and
That's
then
amazing. And
and
I do
then
love writing, but I don't know it's still a piece of that because the part that I love about the writing is being funny on the page
yeah.
and seeing everything come together.
Yeah, I think in this career you have to be flexible. I mean, I used to say for years, I got this from Roger Nygard, who's a great editor and director, and he said, just tell people you're a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Encompasses everything, you know,
Yeah.
except for stand up. Doesn't encompass stand up.
Right. That's why I say I'm a writer. I do
Yeah,
words. I do
yeah,
comedy. Okay. First question for you,
yeah.
Dave.
Oh God, here we go.
If you could do any other job, what would it be?
Any other job outside of the entertainment industry,
Other than what you do? Yeah.
other than what I do? Do you know what? I think I would probably have been quite interested at a certain point in following the psychologist thing, but that would have taken a lot of work and a lot of effort. But I think I was kind of interested in people, and that's why the drama therapy made sense to me. So I think I
I
would have
mean, teaching theater is kind of drama therapy anyway.
yeah, 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 yeah. I think I might have just taken it further and gone, oh, okay, that's something that I would have.
You can always have a second chapter. I think we could
Yeah,
do that.
yeah, okay. It's a lot of training
Um,
in that. Yeah, yeah,
you could have more fancy letters after
yeah.
your name.
I mean, I can't be a footballer now, so that's over. Yeah, no,
That one
yeah.
might be over.
That one's over.
If you won the lottery, what
Hmm.
would you do?
I would set up a production company.
Hmm.
I would like to do it like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. I would set up
Good
a
path.
production company where everybody gets paid equally. What a socialist, right? But I do think it's unfair that it's top heavy. So
Yeah.
I would want, if I had that much money, I'd go, right, this is a production company. We're going to make this many movies. Everybody on it is going to participate in its success. I would also have a foundation where I would be providing arts to the community, which I work for a few foundations like that, which provide arts for the communities. But I would probably either give them a lot of money, or I would set one up,
Like
or
it.
might get a bigger house, maybe. I don't know, maybe.
What is your favorite snack?
Oh God, I knew you were going to ask that one. Do you know what? This is really ridiculous, and I said this before. And so I like dried mango.
Are you giving me shit about popcorn?
I know. I just like dried mango. It's just like, and I have to ration myself when I see it in Trader Joe's and going, oh, some dried mango. I've had a lot of that this week, but I do like it. It's my little go-to thing, really.
I'm a sucker for dried fruit. I can appreciate it.
Dried fruit, yeah. I mean, I love fruit. I do love fruit, but dried mango is my little. If I get that at Trader Joe's, I'm eating that in the car before I've got home. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's very healthy of you.
Okay.
And if we really knew you, Dave, what would you say?
Oh God, I knew I should have prepared for that one. Should have really. What would you know about me? I think. I sometimes think I like, because I have several positions, like being the head of this drama school and being director. I think sometimes, like, if you knew what was really going on, I'd be thinking, I don't really know an awful lot. I'm always thinking, oh, people are looking at me for answers, and I'm having to bluff it out a lot of the time, and I'm going, oh God, don't ask me that. And people ask me questions on the simplest of things. Now, sometimes, and the amount of times I really want to say, I don't know, but I have to give you an answer, don't I?
You're not allowed to say I don't know.
I do say I don't know quite a lot, but I'm actually, and sometimes I might say that more, and sometimes I think I probably have to tell myself, actually, Dave, you know more than you think you do.
You probably do. Also, I think we're all a little bit faking it and have a little bit of imposter syndrome, right? Like, how
Right.
does anyone listen to me? How am I the
Yeah.
one with answers?
I mean, I'm still like, I'm one of those guys who go, yeah, you've got to pay me if I'm going to do that job. And then they pay me. And I go, oh my God, they paid me.
Oh
Oh
my
my
God, now
God.
I have to do that job.
I didn't think that would happen.
We've all had that. That is our time. I
Wow.
hope I learned some fun things. I hope it was interesting for our listeners. And I don't know about you, but like part of my wanting to do this podcast and talk to other people is to figure out like people's hacks to sustain how they do this and like keep the passion and the dream alive so that like we get to still be those people who wake up every day excited about what we do and still pay our bills.
Yeah, and do you know what I've been loving about the podcast is finding out people who have dreams which are completely different from. I think our dreams are not dissimilar, but
Yeah.
like someone who wanted to be a detective, someone who wants to be an airline pilot. That's
Yeah.
what I love because I'm just driven to listen to people who are passionate about what they do.
About what they do.
Yeah,
But also how similar it is that like people are like, you got to do it because you love it. I have a routine that I do beforehand to keep me in that headspace, like the way people have balance. I'm excited there are more dreamers. My wish for everyone would be that they could find the thing that fuels them like that and get to live their dream. Because we're lucky. I don't think everybody gets to.
No. I think I remember my uncle saying that 95% of people are in the wrong job. And if
That's
find
a
a
high
job,
percentage.
yeah. Well, he might. I don't know. Maybe he might have been cynical, but I think a lot of people are, and I think it is fine. And he might have told me that when I was very young and impressionable, and I believed him. So I went, I'm going to do a job that I like.
Good job. He manipulated you for good.
It probably was going now. Not that. I didn't mean do that, Dave.
I mean, an actor. Come on.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
All right, Casey.
All right.
This
Dave,
has been
it's
fun.
been a pleasure. Listeners, we hope this is what you're asking for.
I want to see you soon. Bye.
Quick shout out to Mike Nicholas for being our tech savior and Carmen Sclafani, also known as Wiser Time. Thanks for our music. And thank you all for listening.